Microphone check, 1, 2, what is this? It's the 5'7" assassin in the podcast business. I am your host, Rohan Patra, the rap music plug at your service.
Here we are again at the end of a rainbow.
The Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV is the remedy to the I don't have anything good to listen to problem. Through in-depth album and song reviews, as well as artist interviews and general rap commentary sprinkled in between on all of what the mainstream and underground rap scenes have to offer, this is your one-stop shop to knowing what to add to your queue, play next, or pop into your record player. Welcome to the show. What's up, family? Today I have a really special guest with me, and that is Lync Lone, who is a producer, rapper, visual artist, and creator of a new line of papers from Rochester, New York. He is one of my many of the artists that I got hip through Iceberg Theory. I keep saying that if you watch this show that he was the gateway drug to this whole side of hip hop that's just been so fruitful in my music listening over the past few months. And Lync's grabbed my attention mainly just due to a really distinct voice and the positivity that I get within his music. That's just really infectious. So welcome to the show, bro.
Appreciate you, bro. Happy to fucking be here. What's up?
Yeah, man. Thank you for being here. I'm really digging the merch. I know we were talking about that before. It's
Oh, yeah.
ill. You know, like one aspect I really like about your music, and something I will get into a bit more detail later, is that it's very aspirational to me. Like I get a lot of feelings that you're a dreamer, which is something that I really resonate with because I feel like I'm super similar in that way. So was being a rapper this long time dream of yours?
Yeah, bro. Pretty much, like, honestly, ever since I can remember, this is really not deeper than that. This is just what I've wanted to do for pretty much my whole life. And I've always been a music lover and also a lover of just being in tune with myself and shit. So as I grow older, naturally, the two just start to blend. You know what I mean? I've always been putting out music and shit. So it's pretty much always been like that, bro. Yeah.
And, you know, I hear some artists like Currency come to mind when I think of your style, but generally speaking, your style is quite unique. So like, what would be a few key albums that you say were like really influential into developing into the artist you are today?
I mean, bro, you probably know this as much as me. Shit like that is mad hard to answer. There's so many albums I've listened to over the years that have just kind of paved lanes in my mind, whether it be small or big. Just a few that come to mind are, I've always loved like that little 2012 to 2014 section of hip hop with like Al fucking when TDE was going up, when fucking Action Bronson was going up, when like Dash and Wretch were going up. I was just like coming to like an age where I was understanding life and shit at that point. I was like 14, 13, 12 around that point. So I was kind of taking all that in as I was growing up, and that music kind of played a big part in like at least defining the type of sound, you know what I mean? Everything else around like the lyrical content spans from like Nas to fucking, I used to be a big like Mac Miller fan growing up. RIP to him. Lil Wayne, bro, Kanye, like I've really just listened to it all and kind of just taken it all in, blended it up. You know what I mean?
It's funny you mentioned Mac. That's actually, I was trying to think of like artists that come to mind with you. Currency I mentioned, but Mac, damn, that's a super strong one I can see. Because like kind of in the vibe, but also like in that positivity part, especially like Mac's like more mature work that he was making towards the end of his career. Like I definitely see a lot of that in your style for sure.
Oh yeah, bro. Like I was fucking like a freshman in high school when Faces came out and shit. So that was like a huge defining point. I was in like middle school when Watching Movies came out. So as I'm just kind of like life, like, you know, kind of taking everything in, I'm hearing shit like that. And I'm like, damn, like understanding what these dudes are going through at an older age, and a lot of that just kind of helped me realize my place, and appreciating that I didn't really have much to worry about at that time, and just kind of helped me synthesize shit around me, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, watching movies, that one was like a pretty big I was starting to expand. I was a little older than you. I'm a little older than you, period. So like that hit
Hmm.
me at a different time, but that was at a point similarly where I was starting to expand my taste a bit to like experimental-ish music. Did they come out in like 2013? Am I right?
I
Like
think
did
2013, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, that was the same year Yeezus came out. Cause like I
Yup, same
remember
day, same
it
day.
was the same day. Yeah, okay. Okay, yeah. It was Cole, Kanye, and Mac. I remember there was a third there. So yeah,
I think it
that
was June 18th, bro. That day is permanently etched in my brain. That was like a crazy day back then, bro.
that was the day that was like towards that's like the last week or last 2 weeks of high school, and that was my senior year. So that was like my last 2 weeks of high school that came out. That
Hmm.
was yeah, so memorable because yeah,
Bro, it
Yeezus and
must have
watching
been.
movies
When
was
you're that
just
much
like mind melt for me. I was like, what is this shit? And then it
bro,
put me
Jesus was
on.
Jesus was crazy when that shit came out, bro. I remember me and the homie, like I said, I was kind of like going into my like early to middle teens back then. And I remember when the Yeezus leak came out, bro, me and the homie like sat in like a dark room and listened to this shit. Like the whole shit when it leaked, and I was like mind fucked, bro. I was like, yo, he might have just killed his career or just like started a new one.
Yeah,
And he
for
kind of
real.
just started a new one at Yeezus, bro.
Yeah. Yeah, like that one it
Hey,
took me years. Took me years to like I liked it when I first heard it, but I was like, yo, this is I just can't get with it too much.
mhm,
Disappointed generally. It took me like a solid year to like, okay, no, I actually really like it. And then maybe
bro.
even like 3, 4 years later, where I was like, okay, I really like this. This is like
Right, bro. You
one of
come to
his better
appreciate.
problems. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he did that for that reason too. He knew people would grow with it. He knew he was at the point where like people would like focus in on anything he put out. So that was a genius chess move by him, bro. He shook the whole fucking scene up when that came out.
You know, like something that's coming to mind as we're talking about Yeezus and something that we talked about before starting this interview officially was about the new Davino Starker album, Sacred, that for those that aren't knowing what time we're in, because you're not going to hear it on the day we're talking, it is September 25th today. So that album, Sacred, just dropped like at
Last
midnight.
time. Yeah.
And when I heard it, I was immediately thinking of this really sick rapper and producer Lungs, and otherwise known as Lone Sword for his producer work. And I was like, yo, this sounds so similar. Like this seems to be a heavy inspiration. They run in similar circles. That's just what came to mind. And it's I'm bringing that up because I'm curious what you think of just the idea of some like obviously Kanye's not Starker and Davino. Like Kanye's Kanye. I understand that. But just the idea of like a bigger artist, like not necessarily, I'm not even trying to espouse any like negativity, but just like taking a style that is getting some steam and it was kind of potentially originated in more of the underground spaces of the music world. Like, how do you feel about when the bigger artists do that and then get all the acclaim? Because obviously Kanye is like people think Yeezus was like the first album ever that was industrial, which is obviously bullshit, but he popularized it. So do you think that like he actually deserves some credit and actually deserves like the credit for that risk given his stature, or do you think he was just swagger jacking?
Yeah, I think obviously people are gonna twist it whatever way they want, and there's good reasons to both sides of it. But I think at the end of the day, it's just I always think of shit like this. Like at the end of the day, music you like is just what sounds good to you. And I think if he wanted to just incorporate elements and shit, I think that's dope. If he's like actually jacking the whole shit and then trying to run off with some narrative as if like I started this shit, that's one thing, you know. But I think just plucking is different. Now, when you say getting all the acclaim, I think it really just boils down to give the original person their flowers. You know what I mean? If you're getting acclaim for some shit, just make sure all the people acclaiming know where it came from, and then it'll just be evident. It's not gonna take anything from you. You're the one that got their attention in the first place. You know what I mean? Just say what's good. Like, that's how I see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think he did give like the thing is people pointed to Death Grips right when that came out, and it's funny is because Death
Yeah.
Grips also kind of gets that treatment where their credit is like Death Grips was the first one. It's like no, they weren't. They just again they popularized it just at a more underground level. Obviously, they're like pretty giant now, but you get the point. It's funny because he genuinely seemed to be like I just worked with all these like Noah Gestelfine. I don't
Mhm.
just Salftine. Oh my god, I don't. I'm
I
sorry.
don't. I never knew how to
He
pronounce
produced
that.
for The Weeknd. He's dope. I don't
Yeah,
want to
I
like
never knew how to
shit on his
pronounce
name,
it.
but he produced with
I know
like
what you're talking about.
he got a bunch of producers like Arca and stuff. Produced for like FKA Twigs. Like he got those guys that like run in those spaces. So I mean, yeah, I don't know if he was inspired, but I find that an interesting conversation.
Yeah, same. You could put it in any genre. There's shit, people are gonna say at the end of the day, like this came from that, this came from that. But yeah, bro, I think it's definitely necessary to just note when you do shit like that. You know what I mean? Like you
Mhm.
could say any of my albums and I could tell you what I was listening to at the time, like who was inspiring me, and you could probably it would probably make the album better knowing where that shit came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't get why people try to hold the like themselves on a pedestal and act like they started it type shit. So
That's like really reminiscent of what I was talking with Blood Blixing when I spoke to him
yeah,
in
people
our
are
recent interview. Like,
shout
because
out Blood,
obviously Blix
bro.
wears that shit on his sleeves. He's like, I tried to make an Alchemist beat, or like I was inspired to
Yeah,
recreate some kind of like Kanye vibe with this beat. It's like that's sick.
like
I
he knows
like it
type
that
beat.
yeah, he makes it his own. That's
I
all that
love Blood
matters, you
Blessing,
know.
bro.
Yeah. Um. Okay, so one of the most immediate features to me, as I mentioned earlier with your music, is that like super slick rapping style. And I'll precursor to this by saying, like, apologies for not knowing the technical words. I'm so bad with those musical terms, but it seems like you like use like overdubs or reverb a lot in your raps. I don't know if either of those things are true, but
Yeah.
it like creates kind of like an echo sound. And I
Mhm.
don't tend to hear that often, honestly, in rap these days. And I wouldn't be terribly surprised if other rappers do it, but for you, it's like super distinct. It's like this makes it really spaced out and like psychedelic and all that. So like where I'm
That's
going with
interesting,
this is that
bro.
from the moment I heard your music, I think the first project I heard of yours was that Sorcerer of Vine
Ice.
Valley with
Oh yeah.
Ice.
Oh,
It seemed like you
Iceberg.
had
Bro.
a really distinct identity created. So like my question is like how long did it take you to get there to develop this rapping style, and did you experiment with other things and other kinds of styles when you were younger?
Yeah, bro, that's a good question. Like all right, so I'll just kind of back it up. Like I was saying earlier, I've always made music from like 2000 like 10 to 2000 like 13. I was just like recording shit on my little iPod. I was mad young, bro. And I was just burning CDs with like acapellas and shit and like giving them to like my cousins and shit like that. But then when I was like 14, 15, SoundCloud started popping up and I started learning how to like record myself. I had gone to this studio for a while. It was too much bread though, bro. I was like 15. Like I was like, let
Yeah.
me just learn how to do this myself. And just ever since then, that's kind of what started just the whole thing of me doing it myself, just because I learned at a young age and it was like, why would I pay when I could just get better myself for free type shit. And from when I was like 14 to like 15, 16, I was just dropping like rapping on this beat, rapping on that beat, just some little like conscious raps from being 15. And like I was saying earlier, just experiencing life, coming into the world a little growing up and shit. It was mad corny, but then when I was like in mid high school, when I was like 17, 18, I started journeying into like a darker phase where I was just kind of like I got a little depressed and shit, just going through the motions when you're
Mhm.
17 type shit. And yeah, I started doing a lot of darker type music. I don't know if you know who Bones is, bro, but I was
Yeah.
listening to him a lot
Oh
during that
yeah.
time. You can already imagine the influence if I just say his name. So I was making a lot of that type shit for a couple of years, just dropping it on SoundCloud. It was actually way more like well received in terms of plays than my music now, but you know what I mean? Like even though I was rapping about darker shit, it just kind of was a phase for me. And once I got out of that, when I was like 19, 20, which is like a couple years ago, I'm 21. So once I started getting to that age, I was kind of like coming out of that dark phase, and I was like, all right, let me just kind of start over. Like, I don't want to be putting negative shit out. I used to have mad negative music, bro.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just erased it all and started anew. And that's when I dropped We Don't Know Shit, my first album that you could find, like
Yeah.
the first one on my page, whatever. And that was kind of like a rebirth for me as like an artist. I had always like everyone I grew up with, I was always like the dude that was rapping and shit. Like, but when I dropped that, it was really like, all right, now I'm gonna like talk about shit and like coming into who I am as a person and shit. So I just kind of started anew, and then it's just been building on that ever since. You know what I mean? Just kind of taking my life experiences, making them sound dope, or at least trying to. You know, so that's
Yeah.
just kind of what got me to this point. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear the hints of like the darker sides. And Bones is actually like that's a even like the way he kind of like delivers his vocals too. Like I can kind of see like hints of that. That's pretty interesting.
Certain
And
flavors in my shit. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like
He's
the
great though. I love Bones,
I
bro.
do like him. I do like him. I've
A lot
heard
of
a
the dudes in
couple
that scene took
projects.
it to an extreme though. Like I don't. That's too negative for me, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and like the you're talking about kind of like the perspective that you bring your music, and I find that's the less immediate but I think equally or more important part of your music is that remarkable positivity that I discussed earlier. And I can see it both in like conversation with you and in your music, like even your Twitter, like, and I can speak for a lot of us when I say it's kind of hard to have that kind of a positive outlook these days.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, in a recent tweet that you put out like 2 3 days ago, I think you were talking about like the reasons why you make music or something along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about promoting positivity in a nutshell as one of those key ones. So, like, how have you been able to first stay so positive and hopeful in your life? And why is that so important for you to communicate in your music?
Honestly, bro, what kind of made the turn from like negative to positive was had mad like life shit happen to me in a condensed period of time, and then it all kind of washed away at the same time, and I was just left in this like new free state of mind. I had like moved like 45 minutes away from where I grew up at the time, going to like college and shit for a couple years. And I was just kind of like reevaluating my life and doing some psychedelics and shit, just basically growing up as you would being 19, 20. Just kind of formulated new thoughts and shit. And I was just like, let me, instead of put negative shit out, put positive shit out, because changing your mind is all it's I don't know, life is a reflection of what you are inside your mind. It's all a matter of perspective, you know what I mean? So if I just look at everything with a glass half full mentality, it'll probably end up that way. I was seeing A. Rashid talk about that earlier, bro. I saw this video he posted on his Instagram earlier. He was saying that basically just what you perceive life as, the world answers to. So it's basically how it is for me. And if I can give other people that same mindset, I want to, you know what I mean? But I'm not trying to be on any like preaching shit, shoving it down
Mm-hmm.
people's throats. Like, I'm not saying like, fuck you if you don't see it this way. Like, I'm just putting my shit out there and hoping that it resonates with people, because I just try to speak on shit that I feel like is just in human nature to feel. So I feel like most people would connect to some aspect of my shit at the end of the day. Now, matter of how it gets to your ears is what I'm trying to work on. You know what I mean? That's the
Mm-hmm.
music part. But as far as what I talk about and shit, it's just all shit that's on my mind every day. So it's really just a mindset thing. If you can get yourself in that positive mindset and just realize that we're all just on this planet and shit, living life, it's not that deep. You'll be good. So
Yeah, yeah. Shout out, first of all, shout outs to A. Rashid. If
hell
you
yeah,
guys don't
bro.
know him, you've definitely heard him on those West Side Gun projects on multiple
Hell
occasions.
yeah.
He's
Legend,
dope.
bro.
Um,
I met him at West Side Gun's store, bro. It
oh
was
yeah,
crazy.
he was a good guy. He was chill.
Yeah, we just talked for a minute, but he was just talking about how beautiful it was there and shit. And I was like, facts. I don't know if you've seen pictures of the inside of Gun's store, but that shit's crazy, bro. I've been
Is it the
there.
red? Is it like the red wall? Oh, I
Yeah.
thought it was the studio. Oh, okay, cool.
Nah, it's like,
Yeah, it's
bro, it's
crazy
in the
nice. Holy
mall in
shit.
Buffalo. It's just like you walk into like a mall store. It's like one of the mall stores, bro. It's dope.
Damn.
Few times I've been there, he was in there taking pics with everyone for the whole day, cashing out customers, like mad genuine, bro. That dude is a legend. Both of them.
That's sick. That's sick. And what you're speaking about too, about like just trying to adopt that mindset. Usually if you have that perspective, it kind of like glass half full kind of idea, it'll come true. I think it's also about like the idea of like affirmations, which is like really scientifically proven. It's not just like some bunch of hooey or whatever, some bunch of baloney. Um, like just saying things in a positive way, like it's actually speaking it verbally, and obviously you do that in to a significant degree in your music, obviously. It's kind of like a form of affirmations. It's like you're
When
just
you
gonna
say it like
keep,
that, it is, yeah.
yeah. And like if you keep on to the flip side, if you're making more of that like bone style music, it's kind of hard to like leave the booth, I'm sure, after that, and to be like, oh yeah, I'm so happy, and like, oh, today's gonna be a good
Affirming
day. When
negativity is just the same thing on the other side of the spectrum, bro. So,
hmm
but learning that you affirm or you have the power to affirm is what dictates whether it's negative or positive. Most people just feel what they feel and just cast that. But when you realize you're in control of it at the end of the day, that's when everything changes.
hmm yeah, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Um, another thing you mentioned in that tweet that I found really interesting, you said your number one goal was that you wanted to in your music, related to your music, is that you want to make music that helps you synthesize your own personal thoughts and feelings so that it makes it easier for you to interpret them.
Mm.
That's a really weighty goal. So could you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, bro. Like, it just like you were saying, I guess affirmations in a sense, like making the shit just helps me be me at the end of the day. Like, if I didn't write music, I would probably express those feelings in other ways. And I've been making music so long that I don't even know what those ways would be at this point. But if it wasn't music, I don't know what the fuck it would be, bro. I've made music my entire life. I probably have like 2,000 songs at this point. Like, I've always made albums. I've always been an album maker, and each album I've made has always just captured like a period of time in my life. You know what I mean? Like it's like a chapter of my life is like an album. Like I was saying, We Don't Know Shit was an album, and even I had dropped like 20 something projects before that that are all deleted by now, but when I was younger. And each one was just like periods of time in my life, just kind of encapsulated into an album. And doing that has always helped me synthesize shit. That's why I drop so much, because it's just each album is like a completed chapter in my life. And usually when an album comes out, I'm kind of like in a new mentality at that phase in my life. And it's really just directly reflective of what I'm going through. Like Vine Valley, that was a phase. Like I was driving through this little town called Vine Valley every day that was close to where I had just moved to, hearing these beats Ice was sending me, like, and just saying what I was thinking. Same with Spirits Are High. It was turning winter. Blix was sending me these crazy beats. I just said what was on my mind. Like it just kind of captures a period. So yeah, that's basically what I meant by that. It's like just helps me at the end of the day. Like whether people like it or not, I'm gonna make it and speak my mind the same amount. So
hmm
at the end of the day, that's number one, and obviously having people feel it. But it's
Yeah,
always
that's
been
dope.
more personal to me. I don't know whether that's to my detriment or not. I guess we'll find out, but hopefully it's not.
Yeah, it's like again taking like that mindfulness aspect to the music for a second and apply like here. That's almost like journaling too. It's
Yeah,
like I'm sure if you like, how does it feel listening to some of those older projects and kind of be like, oh, like that's how I was feeling, like, and you captured it because a lot
it's
of times people just
crazy, bro.
bias. They're like, I was so depressed at this point. It's like actually you weren't. You're remembering one specific moment, which is like
Mhm.
changing your perspective of how your life was, or etc. You know, so that's probably pretty powerful too as a
Yeah,
tool.
bro. Like sometimes I'll just be on a drive and just smoke, zone out, and just listen to some of my old shit. And it's like crazy. It's like diving into like back compartments of my brain. I'm so glad I've always recorded music and shit. You know, it's trippy as fuck to hear that shit.
Yo, that yeah, that I would love if I did that too, like just to hear what I was thinking 2 years ago.
Right,
Like would have been
right.
very enlightening.
And like in depth too, like
Hmm.
albums worth. Like I've always been an album maker, like 10 or more songs. Like it's always been like that. So it's literally like just diving into my brain from back then. It's crazy. I fuck
Hmm.
with
And so let's go to some of those albums and some of these projects because I want to go over before we get into your latest record that you recently released. I want to dig into some of my personal favorites from your back catalog, and I want to start with the 12-minute long psychedelic ride that is Decibelz.
it.
Because
Ooh.
although the project is short, it feels like you guys like captured lightning in a bottle. So can you give
You
me
away
some
from that.
insight into how you created this with Blix and how you went deaf in one year recording this? You hear this in the song and why it's called Decibelz with all the decibel song names and all that.
Yeah, so like I was just saying in winter we were working on Spirits Are High. I was just like experiencing life and shit to all these serious ass beats he was sending me. And then he sent me the fucking bro, I'm like laughing just thinking about it. This beat is crazy funny, bro. The let me see, I got my phone right here. I'm gonna see what track it is on there because they're all just named Decibelz. Like I named them all the first like number I thought of when I listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
Um I think it was fucking 55 or 50. He sent me this beat called like circus shit or something. And it was just he spit on it. We were on FaceTime. He was like wearing a mask and shit, like rapping into the mic, and he like just sent it to me. He's like, rap on this. And I'm like, bro, like I like fine. Like, let's do it. And I was like, yo, like, let's do a tape of this shit. Like, we were like, let's do a whole tape. And he just sent me all these crazy sounding beats. This shit was done like a week or two later, bro. I went to like on this trip to New York City during that time, like a couple days after he sent me to the beats. And he like wanted to do the project right after Spirits Are High, and I was down. So I was writing to the beats all week, and then when I came home, I just laid them all pretty much in 1 or 2 days. And the second day, it was faded into night, and like I was in the booth for like 3 or 4 hours. A few of them we did on FaceTime together. That's what I like about Blix. Like we'll sit on FaceTime and just like do a track real quick and then send it to each other. Like put him on mute real quick, record my verse. Like
That's
we've
so
done a few
cool.
like that. But yeah, so after I finished like this 3 hour session of just like finishing Decibelz, I took my headphone off and I my left ear I like couldn't hear out of it, and it was all ringing, bro. Like I was like, damn, like, and it didn't wear off for a few hours. Like
Shit.
I was kind of nervous, bro, but nothing ever came from that. So
Okay, good.
when I had tweeted that shit, it was like I was deaf for a minute, bro. Like that's hilarious. Shout out BLOODBLIXING, bro.
Yo,
He's
shout out. Yo, those beats are insanity, man. Like
you're telling me, bro.
insanity.
I'm like walking around New York City with AirPods in, like smoking my little joint, like just writing the craziest shit I could think of to him. And then I was talking with Jinx a lot during the time, and I was like, we just kept saying how I want to get a cover by you, bro. He's like, I'd love to do a cover for you. Like, I fuck with this song, like your music is dope. And I was like, hold up, I just made this album. Like, bro, just listen to this and like make an album cover for it. And he's like, say less. And he like, I don't know if you want me saying this, but he said he took shrooms and listened to the album and just painted that shit. And
Yo, it's beautiful, man. I'm looking at it right now on my phone. Like it's really, really nice. It was really eye grabbing and it's
so dope,
I
bro.
only
Shout
got to
out to
this,
Vince,
I only
bro.
got to Decibel's. I'm trying to think when I actually listened. Like I knew of it and I may have heard it, but I don't know how, but I probably just didn't gravitate to me for some reason. Like, but I think I bought this along with a bunch of like when I was really getting into BLOODBLIXING stuff. I was like, okay, let me just cop
The
everything
next
he's made. And then I heard that, and I was like, wait, what the fuck is this? This is like, that's genuinely one of the best things I think both of you have made. Like, it's just so
crazy to me that you
fun.
say that because it's definitely in terms of projects the smallest like blip of like phase. You know what I mean? Like it was like I said, it was a week or two, bro. And all my albums, like I was just talking about, have been like chapters of my life, like synthesizing life and shit. And this was just like, yo, crazy blood blitzing beats, like getting high all week. Let me just make the craziest project ever with this shit. So it was super spontaneous. I love that shit, bro. That shit, like we're always just talking about which one's our favorite. Our favorite's always changing.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to move now to acid jazz, produced fully by Iceberg Theory once again.
Hell
So
yeah,
my
bro.
understanding is this was inspired by Jazzmatazz, the very groundbreaking jazz rap album from the late great Guru, rest in peace. So
R.I.P. bro.
could you talk a bit more about what Guru meant to you as an artist and why you felt so compelled to create an album that I guess is like an homage to Jazzmatazz?
Mm-hmm. So I'm not gonna sit here and act like I'm the biggest like Guru fan. I was listening to Jazzmatazz a lot the last like few years, and specifically during the past winter, I was listening to Jazzmatazz 1 and 2 a lot, and I was also discovering the genre of acid jazz. I don't know if you know about it
Yeah.
and shit, but yeah, and those were kind of coinciding with each other, and Guru was dropping that album around the same time as like some of my favorite acid jazz groups were dropping albums. And it was just making this whole thing in my head like Jazzmatazz, like acid jazz. And I was doing a lot of acid at the time. And like it just kind of made sense, bro, just to kind of combine those two ideas for a project. And Ice was sending me these crazy beats. Like you could tell from the project, that's some of Ice's best production.
Mm-hmm.
Like and it's crazy because a lot of those beats he was saying like, damn, I didn't like fuck with that one that much. Like I didn't think someone would rap on that. Like a lot of them were like that for him. And it was funny because they were just clear like hits to me. Like the
Yeah.
beat he was sending, I was like, bro, like this is crazy. So I had to make a monument of a project just kind of like I said before to encapsulate that whole time period. I do a lot of just like driving around, listening to music, smoking
Mm-hmm.
and shit. So I was doing a lot of that in the winter and shit and listening to bands. I don't know if you heard of Galliano, but
No, I
very
haven't.
dope acid jazz band. Love them, bro. Like the dude that started the genre of acid jazz, started the label, and then Galliano was one of the first bands he signed. And they've always been for the past year or two since I've known about it. They've been a huge like influence to me and shit.
Mm.
And they have this album called The Plot Thickens, which inspired my album, The Plot
Yeah.
Thickens.
Dope.
So
That's dope.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
that album I think was probably that was the one that really got me into your music and also made me realize that like Ice is like not next level producer too. Because like I'd heard
yeah,
his beats before, but I feel like he hit a different level on that he's just kept riding ever since.
yes,
I really like what you guys did with that
a
one.
legend, bro.
Yeah.
He's so dope, bro. Like that album was super personal, bro. Like I was starting to like I said, it was getting to be like deeper winter, like January and upstate New York. That shit is treacherous, bro. So I'm just over here driving around
Bro, I live in
and
Ottawa. I live in Ottawa
oh,
in Canada, bro. In
okay, yeah, you
COVID,
already know.
a COVID Ottawa Canada winter was dark,
Oh,
man. I'm
geez,
not even
bro.
joking. That was a tough
So you
time.
know the dark winters, bro.
Yeah.
Like it was like that. Just driving around getting high and also hearing this shit Ice was sending me like, yo, let me just write some shit real quick. And that turned into fucking acid jazz, bro. I tried to tie it all together and make it epic. So I think it did. Acid
Hmm.
jazz is one of my favorite projects I've ever done.
Agreed.
Shout
Agreed to
out
that.
Iceberg, bro.
Okay, now let's move to your newest project, Lost and Found in Paradise. The moment I press play on this, from like the skits, the features, and just the overall quote unquote quality, it feels like a level up for you in your discog. Like Could you
Thanks, bro.
detail the vision behind this concept? Because it does seem to follow a concept or theme of sorts on this Lost and Found project.
Yeah, so a big thing for me has always been just this vision of like paradise. Like I just love, like you could hear it in my music. I just love like scenic shit, bro. Like I love being in nature. I'm always walking on in fucking woods, going on hikes, just like doing this, doing that outside. Like I've always been a lover of that shit. And that's just kind of developed this longing to be in like to live in like a scenic spot. And I've been on a trip to like Hawaii a few years ago that kind of really inspired me just to kind of see what that side would be like. And it's super attainable. And that's just something that's always kind of made me be like, I want to live in a place like that one day. And it's always been this like distant vision. So I had a couple joints from that album like made, and I was thinking, I just thought of the name one day. I was at work and I was like, I just kept thinking of the name Lost and Found in Paradise. And it was so like oddly specific. Like, I don't know why it was just a random title in my brain. Like, I didn't have to formulate it at all. It just kept like calling to me. And I was like, it's too specific for me to turn down. Like, this sounds dope. Let me just conceptualize around that.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of made it like, I think you said in your article, like a psychedelic voyage. Like, I fucked
Yeah.
with you said that. I was reading that the other day, bro. And that really is kind of the concept, bro. I was like, let me just do a crazy like concept album real quick. I was like hearing all these crazy beats. I think I was leveling up a lot in my writing, and I was like, let me just take it there. Like, I want everyone to see that I could like make a fucking album. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could just keep doing it. Like, I need to make this epic as fuck and just surprise drop it. And it worked. Like, I think it's one of my dopest projects. That shit was super deep. Bro, I went fucking crazy working on that shit.
Yeah, I know you were teasing that like before that ended up dropping. You were teasing that a couple times. You were not as active on Twitter, but when you were talking about, so you're like, "Oh, I got something crazy coming up. You guys don't even know." And then when you dropped it, I was like, "Oh, I see why." Just even like
Word.
with the features, man. Like, damn, you got Vic Spencer, you got Big Kahuna
Oh,
OG. You
man.
have him twice when you
Bro.
count the deluxe. And you have some crazy production credits: Fanon, Iceberg, Blood Blixing. You got that Kai Pat, is that how you say his
Shout
name?
out Kai Pat, bro.
Dude,
Legend.
it was like track 2 or 3. He produces
Gonzo,
it.
bro.
That
Track
shit,
two, Gonzo.
like I immediately when I heard that, I was like, yo, what is this shit? This is
Bro,
some new type of hip hop. I was like, this is
watch out
fucking
for him, bro.
crazy. Yeah, I'm already following him. Like I'm waiting to like see what he
Good.
does because that guy had something special there.
He's got
Um,
shit in the cup, bro. He's coming. Like, trust me.
that's dope. That's
I've
dope.
known him
And
since I was like mad young, bro. We grew up together. Like, and he moved like across the US towards when I was like graduating high school and shit.
mhm.
And we kind of like lost contact, and like um then a couple years ago I found out he listened to like Griselda and Mock and shit and made beats, and I was like, yo, like I didn't know you were on this shit, bro. Like, let's make shit. And he was like, say less. And we made our project War on Drugs. It's like my second project that's on my page, I think, and shit. It's me and
Mhm.
him. And we just went into a wormhole and made that shit. I don't know if you've heard it, but that shit is crazy. And we just been making shit ever since. And it's dope to like reconnect with him through this like small little arm of music. Like,
Mhm. Mhm. And yeah, I definitely think that like the rapping from you, you hear it on the intro. It's like there was a certain like I don't know, urgency or just like energy that was different. It felt like you knew this was the one. It's kind of like that's how I felt. Like you knew that.
Haleakala.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. That was actually like one of the first three songs I made for it.
Dope.
Something crazy is Gonzo was made way before the rest of the shit. Like I made Gonzo probably a year ago, and it was
Interesting.
just in the cut because me and Kai Pat were gonna do another project, but it eventually just ended up being spread into my multiple solos that I've dropped since then.
Yeah.
And Gonzo was one of them that I just had in the cut, and I had made Haleakala in like April, and I was like, yo, Gonzo coming right after this would sound crazy. And
It
I was
sounds
like
crazy.
thinking about Lost and Found at this time, and I was like, Haleakala is the name of this like volcano in Maui that I like went to the top of and shit. And it's like a crazy peak in Hawaii. And I was like, this is like the Lost and Found in Paradise. Like, let me just keep the ball rolling with this shit. So
Hmm.
those songs were like the first two I made, but Gonzo was way before. That shit was ended up working really well for the project.
It definitely did. It really like the album starts off with a big bang, and that one's like just wild as fuck. And I like it how it kind of goes through some peaks and valleys in terms of like the energy levels and stuff. Like I feel like towards the end, it's a lot more like you're like gradually being whisked off to paradise at that point. And like the last track, like you're kind of narrating it at that point. Like it very. I really like how you kind of put that all together.
That
You
song is so crazy, bro. Like,
yeah.
there's actually something crazy about that song. The outro, I had an entirely different last. You're talking about the song with Fanon, right? The
Yeah, like like the final track of the regular version.
yeah, Mauna Loa.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had a whole other outro song made that I thought was better at the time. Um, and it was called Mauna Kea. And Mauna Loa and Mauna Kea are the two highest peaks in Hawaii, like volcano mountain type shit.
Hmm.
And so the first song was called, I think Mauna Kea is the first one. Um, and it was a Fanon beat and everything. And then, like a couple weeks after I made this song, Fanon hit me. He's like, "Yo, my bad, bro. Like, I didn't even peep this, but Ice used that beat for the Horn Monk album." And I was like, "Fuck! Like, that's the whole outro. Like, I gotta make a whole new outro." Like, I thought it would not end up working out as well, but he had that beat in the cut, and I was like, "Yo, this one is low key. This one low key would work out way better." And I just kind of re-tapped into that mindset, and I just made it a whole other outro, and I think it turned out better. Like that one is one of my favorite songs I've ever done, and like you said, it is super narrative and shit. So
Yeah, it really
glad I
like
got
tied it
to
up.
recapture that. Yeah,
Yeah. I find this whole talk about like that idea that you really had this like vision or like I don't know, like aspiration to be in like nature and like live in a really scenic spot. I
mm-hmm.
relate to it, one, and I actually relate to it even kind of like the way you said it came about. Like when I went to Vancouver this summer, I feel it changed me in terms of like I never gave a shit about the views. Like I'd go to
Right.
Spain.
Like five
I
years
I
ago,
saw some views. Oh, these no, I'd be like, yo, this is nice, but it's like
right.
not what I'm grabbing from that
It
trip. But
didn't hit.
Vancouver, it was like seeing the mountains everywhere you fucking looked north and just it was just a fantastic trip. I did so much hiking. I never hiked ever in my life. It was
It's
super
amazing,
mind
bro.
blowing and it changed my perspective similarly that I realized that like living in that kind of space, seeing that kind of nature, it did something to me and I actually want that now. I used to never care at all.
Yo,
And I'm bringing that up again not just cuz it, relates to me, but also I feel like your music does like kind of like when I think about it, I can listen to this music and like look into something nice is like how I usually consume your music, not just this
bro,
album.
that means
Like
a ton,
I'll
bro.
yeah, it's a really scenic kind of music. It's like play
Thanks.
this,
That's
look
what
at
I try
something
to do.
nice. Yeah.
Right. Like, and just if I just try to make my music, like I said before, I'm not trying to preach at you, like, but at the same time, I want every line to mean something and for it to be like, you could play it in the background, but when it's in the front and you're like, for that time you're listening to it, I want it to be always be saying shit that you're like, can take in and shit. Like, I don't want any of my shit to be filler, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's a lot of it. And I like that you say that because a lot of it comes from me looking at dope shit. You know, like I'm out on a fucking like mountain trail, like writing some shit over a fucking iceberg beat or whatever. So like you can see that in the music too. So it's like I appreciate you saying that. That's
No,
dope.
yeah. And I like how you said that you want it to kind of work on both levels because I agree with that. Like I think the aesthetics of your like your flow, your voice, it's really just like appealing to listen to when you don't need to maybe necessarily focus on it too much. It could be more in the background, but when you do want to have that more let me like intently listen to this and what this guy's saying, you have some shit to say. So it kind of works on both levels. I like music like that. Sometimes you need some versatility because I can't always be just like really in the mode of listening to every single word. I don't have that time.
Yeah. But at the same time, you want it to be like when you do sit there and listen to every word, it's got to be dope. You know what I mean?
Be dope.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And so why did you want to make this a deluxe? Like, did it feel just like really special to you? And you're like, I really want to like beef this up and make this even bigger of a kind of event?
At the end of the day, hell yeah. And also because a couple like days before it came out, I made that cover right there. And I was like, yo, I can't just not use that cover. Like, I have to use that and just make a deluxe. And like, I have to make it bigger. And I had other beats in the cut that didn't make the album. And I was like, let me like not be let down that didn't make the album and like blow them up to their fullest potential and just make a whole new project. So that's kind of where that came from. I had produced a couple joints that I had in the stash and I was like, I wanted to use this one for it, but it was too late. The album was already coming out. So it just kind of all worked out. And I needed to get concept on that, bro. It was like a dream because I fuck with Khan heavy, bro.
He's so sick.
Mm-hmm.
So sick.
He's a legend, bro. Khan is crazy, bro. But yeah. So I had to get him on there, and I knew I could make that song bigger. Shout out Kai Pat, shout out Kahuna too, legend. Yeah, they came in clutch for that, bro. That song is crazy to me. I was listening to mad like mutant shit at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I've only recently gotten into them, like probably like late. Pretty actually, really, it was the concept project with Obliv that dropped.
That one launched me in too.
Amazing, like that's one of my favorite albums of the year. Still, just like
I just popped it on vinyl today, bro.
Yo, you did? Let's go. It's my laptop wallpaper. It's so like aesthetically nice to look at. Like I don't know who that chick is, but it's just like, yo, she's a good looking girl.
It looks like an old magazine cover,
yeah,
bro.
It's great to look at. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and ever since then I've gotten into that Mutant Academy stuff. Like obviously Fly Anakin was the guy. It was Fly Saifus that really got me into him. And now I've like dove heavily into his back catalog. But yeah, concept sick.
Crazy, bro. Those dudes are so sick, bro. If I could do shit with them more one day, like that would be awesome. Your styles really work. Like you guys both got that like really good flows, and like Slick can rap on like a bunch of the concept can rap over anything. Dude, he has a track with J Words. I don't know if you checked that. It's fucking crazy, and you know her shit's like futuristic. I didn't peep, but bro, Khan is crazy with it, bro. Like you could pick a beat and he would rap on it in a way you never thought anyone could ever rap on it. Like I don't know how he does that shit, bro. Getting into listening to them is like fucking crack. Like it's just I always say it like this, like you could break down every rhyme and he hits every little pocket. All of them do. And it's just literally the purest like form of like rapping with syllables and in the beat and shit. And it's literally just like pure fucking dope. That's what I see it as.
Yeah, totally, man. And you're talking about your album, like the album cover there that you made. So not only do you do your own album covers, but you also do some for others. And you recently just got a really dope placement with Planet Asia's latest EP, No Exit Plans, that just dropped. It's a really sick cover. People should check out the project and check out the cover too. It's sick.
Shout out Asia and Philly, bro. They killed that shit.
Yeah, totally. And it makes me want to ask, and you kind of actually briefly touched on it earlier, where I want to ask, like, how important do you think it is for artists in today's day and age, 2021, to be self-sufficient and or have kind of multiple streams of work that they can create?
I mean, what do you mean though? Like
do you think it's really important to be able to do shit yourself, really, and like have other ways? Seems like it's getting more common. I always see people like every rapper produces these days. Like it was unheard of.
You got to hit a balance though, because you could say like, oh, I produced this, and it's like ass. You know, you can't just say you produce. Like people want to like rap and then act like every other thing they have to be good at because they rap. You know what I mean? And it's
Mm-hmm.
not like that. Like you got to put that energy into everything you do. And like I was telling you earlier, all those projects I've dropped throughout the years of just me growing up, I've always just made album covers and I've always just knew my way around software and shit like that for music stuff. So it's just natural to me to do album. That's probably the most natural thing to me. Like, unless it's a specific artist that I fuck with, like visual artist that I want to do a cover for me, I'm just gonna make that shit myself by default
Mm-hmm.
because chances are I already have the image in my mind when I start making it, and I just create what I see in my head, pretty much.
Yeah. And I think you're saying the right thing about like you got to know the balance of like and be honest with yourself. Are you actually is this actually good? Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
should work with
Yeah, bro.
someone, pay someone, whatever it is
Yes.
to do it. Because like I'm actually
A lot of
starting
mid
to,
shit, bro.
yeah, yeah,
It's a lot
exactly.
of mid shit, and people like to act like it's not mid shit just because they did it themselves and shit. When really it's like, okay, but like, is it dope shit? Like I was saying earlier, at the end of the day, the music is what sounds good to you, bro, and looks dope to you, and you fuck with just naturally when you hear it.
Yo,
And if you
I
have to
don't want
like
to.
take into consideration things like too hard, it's like it almost ruins it. Like, bro, just make dope shit. Like, make sure it's dope.
I don't want to be a hater here, but it's just because you're saying this. It's just like I just gonna say it. No real disrespect. It's just a matter of taste. But when you're talking about mid shit, but by someone who like does it all themselves, I'm thinking of Russ. Like Russ's entire
Yo,
mo,
my
he
homie was
always raps
killing
about
it.
I do everything myself, and it's like, yo, you're not actually. He's not the worst rapper at all. He actually can make a song. Like he has like general talent. I'm not gonna say he doesn't, but it's like just get someone to produce these beats, man. Jesus Christ, man. Like
Bro, I
it's like
low-key agree with you, bro. Like one of
like
my closest friends growing up, shout out Queso. He is like a huge Russ fan. And we are always getting into it. Like, yo, Russ is mid, and he's like, Russ is dope. And I'm like, I feel him. Like, I get why he thinks it's good. Like,
it is. I
I
get
fuck
it.
with
I
Russ.
fuck with
He
it.
seems
Yeah.
dope. I would smoke with the dude. He seems mad cool and shit, and I love his energy. But like, I just would never play his music myself
Mm-hmm.
under any circumstance.
Yeah. And it's like we get it. It's cool that you did it all yourself. You came up with like any cool. It's great. It's impressive, but it doesn't mean the music's good. And it's like sometimes you got to know when you should outsource something, work with someone. And like even just like me, like podcast stuff, like it not only is like making the product better, but just me realizing like, man, I'm spending so much time trying to make this video, little that stuff that just doesn't look like great. It's not going to win any fans over. It's like let me work with a fucking really really dope artist in Big Flowers, and he made some dope shit. And people always notice it. And now like up the polish in the game, get blood blitzing, make my
Right.
fucking beat, and it's like I fucking love it. Just like even just like
In
from
house.
my
Bro, that's dope.
yeah, and like, even from like my personal like view, it's like even if like 5 people listen to this only, it's like I like this. Like I like listening to that
Word.
beat. I like how it looks like, and it just it does so much. And I think people need to like know when to draw the line. I think you're making a
Yes.
really good point.
You gotta just, and I feel them. Like I'm low key lucky to have gone through the motions of being a shitty artist at a young age. And I've just seen it go over the years. Like if I don't put my heart into some shit and if I don't really, really, really think it's dope, because you could think someone's dope, like, yo, go cop this, like, but do you really think it's dope? Would you cop it? Like that's
Would
the
you
thing at the end
cop
of the
it?
day.
Would you cop it? That's a good question. That's a good
Like
question.
that's the thing at the end of the day. And I would like to make shit that I would cop 10 of if I saw it in the store. But also maintain a level of dopeness where people could hear it and be like, oh, this is what he's on. Like, I'll listen to this shit too. Cause you could
Mhm.
be too deep into that, like just doing shit yourself and it sounds ass. Like you gotta know what sounds good and what doesn't. You gotta just follow what you think sounds good, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so, like, on the topic of like other business ventures and kind of other things you do, you have a line of papers, Gonzo papers, really sick that recently launched. How
Right
has
here.
that like experience been putting that out? Because that's like different than I mean, maybe you'll tell me it's very similar, but I'm curious. Like, it does seem quite different than making music or even making art in the purposes of music. So, like, why did you want to create your own papers in the first place, and like how's that been going?
Well, I created them because I smoked mad weed. I was doing a lot of merch shit at the time, and I was like learning about how I could like make my own papers and shit. And I was like, let me just like fuck around and design it real quick. And I designed it, and I was like, let me just drop this with the album. I was gonna drop them for 420, but I was like, it killed me to hold off on that, bro. I didn't want to, like, I'm very like surprised with everything I do. I don't like doing a big rollout and spoiling it. So I was quiet about those, bro. I had to stay quiet about these for like 4 months or 3 months because I had them ready to go at 420. And I was like, I have to drop them with Lost and Found because no one's gonna know what Gonzo ties to.
Yeah, true.
Lost and Found isn't out.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me just hold off. Like, I need to chill for a sec. And then that just kind of gave me more time to formulate a plan with them and shit, make it designed a little better. And it ended up working out for the better, bro. I fuck with it heavy. And I just like doing shit like that because I'm a smoker. And I know a lot of people that listen to my music are smokers. And I can make something that smokers enjoy. It's been like one of my most well-received merch items, probably my most. So that's something to me. So I'm gonna keep doing it. My plan is to do a new line of papers with like every major project I drop.
Ooh, I like that. That's like pretty unique. I actually don't know any rappers. I'm sure again, some dude's done it. Like, I don't know, but I've never heard of that like at all.
I know, yeah, I feel like, oh, I seen, I think Lord Juco did it. I
Oh,
think,
he did. Yo, I need to get into him. He keeps
I
popping up.
haven't gotten into him too much either, but I've always followed him and seen his shit, but I've never really sat in depth and listened. And I think Jamal Gasol did it like a year ago. Shit. But like all that to the side. I don't really listen to them that much. They're both dope and shit, but like, yeah, I was like, I had to do that shit, bro. I had to make it like a crazy thing.
That's sick. And yo, get up for a sec. Show your shirt to the camera.
Yeah, bro.
I'm really fucking
GONZO shirt. I got it on the chest piece, and then in the back we got the it says "Play your cards right." So,
that's fucking fire. That is so.
Oh yeah, I've been fucking around with some of the designs. You could see the hat too, the GONZO hat. I've just been fucking with it, you know, like people want it, hit me up. I got you. But yeah, always fucking with new designs and shit.
Yeah, your merch game's very, very, very solid.
Thank you, bro.
You know, it's been a real pleasure. It's been a real pleasure having you on today, and it's been a real pleasure just generally getting into your music more. The more I listen to it, the more I like it, and I just want everybody to go check out your Bandcamp. I'll obviously link this in the descriptions, obviously, and check out Lost and Found Deluxe. That's like a perfect entry point to your discog. Then after, just go back, go check out some of the projects we mentioned. And yeah, just thank you again. You seem like a really dope dude. Like I'm happy to see where you're going and look forward to seeing more dope shit from you in the future.
I appreciate you having me on, bro. To be able to speak on this shit to this extent is something I've always wanted to do, and to do it with you is the best way, bro. You in depth with this shit, so I appreciate this shit for real. Thank you, bro. It's been a pleasure.
Man. Thank you so much. Take care, man.
All right, bro. You too, man. Peace.
So this concludes today's episode of the Rap Music Plug podcast presented by QLC TV. I hope this episode gave you some fresh new perspectives on the latest rap releases, as well as a recommendation for the next great rap record to add to your collection. If you're an artist looking to level up your career, getting more gigs, album sales, merch sales, whatever it may be, I would love to help you with that by providing you artist development and writing services. So if you're interested, contact me via email at qlctv.podcast@gmail.com or hit me up via Twitter or Instagram at rapmusicplugpod. I would be honored to lend my expertise and help you grow your career as an artist. And also for regular rap fans that just want to hear more quality commentary on the genre, follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. For exclusive content and updates related to the show, follow the Rap Music Plug podcast on Facebook to help the show grow and ensure that everyone's listening to the best rap music at all times. Follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. make sure you leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts so that the show can be spotlighted by that wonderful algorithm and be exposed to more people. You can find all of this information along with exclusive playlists created by myself by clicking the link that's in the episode's notes. So that's all for today. Talk to you soon.